What is leadership? That's a question that's still being debated.
The $64,000 question, what is leadership?
Leadership is vision.
Taking responsibility for being a citizen.
Acknowledging that we all have a role to play.
For me, it's number one, being willing to be involved.
Engaging people around an idea.
Leaders help tap into those qualities in others and get them to commit to the process.
It also requires thinking about the past. We're fortunate our state has been built on a great foundation, not just Granite, but the towns and the state and its traditions, but also the future. What will we be like? It's not just about what we'd like today, it's about where we've been and where we're going.
The traits of Leadership New Hampshire are more important than ever right now. Our society, particularly our political system, is more and more polarized. People are ending up on the far extremes in both parties. And what we're witnessing is the need for the type of steady, thoughtful leadership in the business community, in the political world, and in the nonprofit community all across the state. And that, to me, when people talk about the New Hampshire advantage, that's the New Hampshire advantage, is this public-private partnership.
I'm a New Hampshire native, and I probably suffered from enough conceit to believe that I knew most of the New Hampshire issues pretty well. And my experience with Leadership New Hampshire really showed me that there was a lot more to those issues. There's a lot more depth. And really the interconnectivity of the issues was the thing that really surprised me.
I think we all see the state through our own lens and have our own understandings of what the state of New Hampshire is, what its problems are, what its glories are, what its beauty is. And I think through Leadership New Hampshire you get a chance to not only see the state through your own lens, but see the state through 30 other people's views, and it lets you get a much broader and fuller view of what really is going on in the state.
It's like the marketplace of ideas. The marketplace of ideas works because there are various, ideas are coming from various angles, and they all converge, and people develop new ideas as a result of that. And I think that's what happens on a leadership level with the Leadership New Hampshire program. You bring in people who have diverse backgrounds, who have different experiences, and on any given subject, they're going to start from a different point. And in order for the program to work, everybody has to sort of back up and accept that there's a room full of other people who are at a different starting point. So if you're going to ultimately get to the middle, everybody has to accommodate those other people. And that's, it's a great model for society as a whole.
I always considered myself to be a person who made my opinion known and was kind of pretty forceful in a room. But I found in Leadership New Hampshire, not that I was intimidated, but that what mattered to me more was to give a space where other people could, if they had a stronger personality than I did or felt more strongly about an opinion, I didn't mind being the quiet one. I surprised myself by not needing to be a leader of the 40 people, but just kind of being one of many leaders. And in a way it was a relief, because when you are, when I am the town administrator responsible for 40 full-time employees and a town running well, or as the assistant town manager in Hanover responsible for 140 employees, you are expected to have an opinion and sometimes be the person in the room speaking and leading the conversation. And it was nice to not to have to do that, but to still feel that my opinion mattered, that I was contributing to a conversation instead of leading it.
I'm not an outdoors girl. We have a saying that I get lost in the bathroom, so putting me in the woods would be very dangerous, that I don't like to sweat and I don't like to get dirt under my fingernails. And at Mara Vista, I got lost in the woods, I got eaten alive by bugs, I fell off a bridge, I scraped my leg when we were trying to get out to a raft on something we had tied together with the materials they'd given us, and was not very successful at any of those. But I found people who were willing to help me, people who were willing to take their talents and compensate for my lack of them, and made sure that I didn't feel disrespected or unsuccessful, that I had something to add to the group, even if I wasn't particularly skilled in the physical part. And so it was a nice way to begin to build trust with the group, because it took me totally out of my comfort zone. And it's very clear that you need to challenge people in all of the modalities, not just the ones you as the facilitator are comfortable in, and not just the ones that the participants tell you they're comfortable in. And Leadership New Hampshire really pushed me in that way, and I will be forever a changed facilitator and leader myself.
Ironically, the biggest thing that I took away from Leadership New Hampshire was when to say no, and how to put myself wholeheartedly into the situations that I was saying yes to, including my family, including my work, and including my community. But to get there, I had to know when to say, no, I'm not available for that. I can't do that. I'd like to help you. And what's great about Leadership New Hampshire is you can say, I can't help you, but I know somebody who can, and you pass them off to somebody else.
A typical Leadership New Hampshire person.
One word?
Wow.
I can't, I'll take three. If you can give me 3 words, I'll.
Let me think of a good word.
Engaged. But there's so many more that come to mind.
Wholehearted.
Dynamic.
Enthusiastic.
Multifaceted.
I'd say committed, not in the sense of like the state hospital. How about dedicated?
Multifaceted and sponge-like.
Searching.
Informed?
Concerned.
So sponge-like. I like that one, sponge-like.
It's engaged. Just already, they're already engaged, and they come in and they want to just be more and more and more engaged.
Being the nosy person that I am, I think of the chance to get into places that I wouldn't normally get to see. You know, you get into McDowell Colony where you don't normally get to see that. You get into the state prison where that's normally not an opportunity for people. You get to see places and talk to people that you wouldn't normally get to do. And that's one of the things I love about the program, the opportunities that it provides for you to just learn about new things.
Think of it as not just a program that you're going through for the year. Think of it as a credit card. And you, for the entire year, and then anytime after that, you just say, you can call the governor, you can call the Supreme Court, you can call somebody who's a police chief in your town to say, I want to do a walkabout, and you go, and I'm going through the Leadership New Hampshire program. They go, oh, Leadership New Hampshire, great. So it's like this little free credit card. And the reason I use credit instead of debit is that you do have to pay it forward.
You owe at least a callback to someone who has gone through a leadership in another class. And when someone calls you and introduces themselves as having been in such a class, your responsibility is to help them out, see what they have to say, and try to meet their needs and understand it based upon the fact that part of the reason they're calling you is because you've been through the program, and secondarily because they may need help, they may need a connection, they may need a name, and that's one of the things that you really learn in Leadership New Hampshire is that New Hampshire is a very, very hands-on state. It's a very, very face-to-face state.
You probably are never farther than 2 or 3 phone calls to get ultimately to where you need to go. I mean, in our case, we have a sitting governor who really means it when he says pick up the phone, and if I can help, call me. And in fact, I have, and he has come to my place of work to see what sort of challenges I'm up against. It's nice now to be able to say, call the president of a bank that in our particular class we went through with Joe Corelli, and he was not the president of Citizens at the time, but he has since become president, and it's just really nice to have a personal connection first and then a professional connection second, and so you don't feel quite as awkward. It's never a cold call anymore. It's more of a, you really want to know how that person's doing on the other end of the line, and then you get down to business, but it's nice to have that personal connection.
I got a lot out of Leadership New Hampshire, both professionally and personally, but one of the greatest things I got out of it was on a personal level. I met Katie Collins, and Katie and I, we like to say we're the peanut butter to each other's jelly. Okay, she likes to say I'm the Mary to her Rhoda, or the Rhoda to her Mary. I'm not sure which, but one of these days I'm gonna be a guy in this analogy. At the very least, I'd like to be the Cagney to her Lacey, so at least I'm a tough chick. But Katie and I just hit it off, and we have formed a really deep friendship. And it's the type of friendship you don't often get to form in your adult life.
Commuting was really a wonderful part of the Leadership New Hampshire experience for me. I commuted with two gentlemen, both of whom are quite a bit younger than me. So not only was it the fact that their view of the world was a little bit different, but also we got to debate things in a way that when you're stuck in a car together, you can't escape if you disagree. And we had some incredible conversations both on the way up and on the way back, more so on the way back. On the first night, we decided we would stay for dinner. So we went to a restaurant, and I went to grab my glasses, and they weren't there, which is why I wear them on my neck now. And I said, somebody's gonna have to read me the menu. And John said, okay, Mom. And it stuck all the way through my class. People will often call me Mom when I see them. It's a lot of kids to have.
Maureen Beauregard is the president and founder of Families in Transition, and she was in my class, and we became good friends and respected one another very much so. And midway through the class, she said to me, you know, Michelle, we really need to work together. I'm gonna figure out how to make it work. And 2 years later, she called me and said, I think I figured it out. And I've been working for Families in Transition pretty much ever since.
Many of my closest friends, actually, professionally over the years, came from my experience in Leadership New Hampshire, people who I continue to see on a regular basis. Some I see less often, but we're always delighted to see each other.
I learned an awful lot from the other students in the class. There were 33 of us in the class, and there's a lot of talent in that room. Well, I wrote a poem, and then one of the people in the class was able to transfer that to the back of a t-shirt. But there's a poem on the back that basically talks about how we met as 33 people with quite different backgrounds and how we managed to see eye to eye on most of the issues and what a meaningful experience it was. So, and I also, along with the t-shirt, I said, because I'm a plumber, I had certificates made up for 3 hours of free plumbing, and I gave one to everybody in the class. Everybody had to do something, you know, and so some brought hats, and some brought shirts, and some brought little trinkets, but I just gave out a gift certificate for free plumbing. And a lot of those people called me, including Etta Cantor, who was the executive director at the time. I did some plumbing for her, but I think I charged her, as a matter of fact. So, if you have a new Volvo in your yard, I'm not going to do your plumbing for nothing.
Oh, you know, every class wants me to say which is the best class ever.
I can't imagine that any class of Leadership New Hampshire in its 20-year history could come close to the capacity and achievements of the class of 2006.
Oh, it was clearly the class of 2005.
Girl, 2011, best class ever.
Of course, the class that I was in, 2003.
There is absolutely no question about it. Sorry, folks. 2007 is the best class ever.
I think 1996 was the best class ever.
The best class ever was definitely 2008, hands down.
I can only say it must have been the class of '94.
2005, 2006?
2010, really.
The class that I was in was the best class ever, I guess.
Can't we just say they're all really great? I mean, we can. I just did. How's that?